Oh, listen, I'm not saying that I don't want to review this game, alright? I'm just saying it's a little early to be doing that kind of thing, man. I just woke up, I can't even remember where my other sock is right now, much less formulate a coherent opinion when I can barely comprehend the mechanics of the game I'm supposed to be reviewing. Seriously, dude, just let me go back to sleep, and we can meet up and review Late Afternoon of War 3 instead, alright? No? Fine. I guess in today's humble opinion, we're bringing in the boys in Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3. First things first, I am not well versed in the prequels to this game. Not only have I missed out on the previous two Dawns of War, but I've never even so much as glanced at Warhammers 1 through 39,999. All I can tell you is that it's a real-time strategy game set in fantasy space, complete with space orcs, space elves, and the rarest fantasy creature of them all, space marines. So when it comes to comparing this title to others from the same series, I wouldn't be able to do it without doing a bit of external community research, which I've done. And while I could give you some of the more complicated differences I've found, I'll keep it short, sweet, and simple so that those of you who have experience with the series can get your answer. See, Game Reactor might be quick to tell you that this is the game that Warhammer 40k fans have been waiting for, but the general consensus among Warhammer 40k fans is actually pretty split, with the general idea being that it seems to be neither Dawn of War 1 nor Dawn of War 2, but some kind of hybridization of the two that divides the fan base on its success. From what I understand, the biggest differences are less diversity in playable races, less diversity in research trees, and a shift in emphasis favoring number of squads over useful squad sizes, taking away the complexity where people seem to most enjoy it and moving it to where most hardcore fans don't appreciate it. Another complaint I get from the fan side of things is that the game seems to be taking on quite a few elements from MOBAs. Their interpretation of those design choices are that they're trying to cash in by making the game appeal to a broader, more generalized audience. Like I said, I have no idea about any of that though. I could be misinterpreting what I've read, so you might want to look into some more credible sources. Anyway, switching over to my personal experiences with the game. The basic objective is this: defeat your enemy. What do you mean that's not good enough description? Alright, in order to defeat your enemy you have to destroy their core, and in order to do that you have to amass an army capable of performing such a feat while resorting to strategy in order to give your army an upper hand. Whether that's waiting in stealth pads to ambush unwitting forces, contesting resource points and bleeding their forces while yours flourish, or simply overpowering them with sheer number. For those MOBA players in the crowd, are you sick of having to drag your useless team to victory every single game? Do you wish you could tell your minions to attack the enemy instead of letting the enemy fuck you over? This game is essentially a MOBA without all of that hassle, because you get to do everything the fuck yourself. From the cannon fodder units to the siege vehicles to up to 3 elite units that are essentially heroes and or champions, you're going to be micromanaging your way to victory. Beyond the real-time strategy element, you're going to be running down towers and enemy buildings on the way to take their nexus. I mean core. Just be careful with those turrets, because they ain't your mama's turrets and they don't play by the same rules that you're used to. Races all feel well characterized. The Space Marines are all scarily zealous in their cause and play like big beefy men. Gabriel Angelos isn't afraid to jump into the thick of things and knock some skulls together. The somewhat goofy orcs, by comparison, rely on scrounging together scrap and operating under the influence of their Wa towers, making them great for overwhelming troops and getting the upper hand in strategic situations. Gorgut's spinning claw facilitates that well by deflecting all the fire coming down on his troops as he leads them into battle. And then you've got the Eldar, who prioritize mobility, defensiveness, and map control. That complexity is mirrored in the kit of Farsia Maka, which needs strategic positioning and foresight in order to improve the performance of her troops. Normally you can find Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 on the Steam store for the price of $39.99, which I wouldn't pick it up for personally, but that's a tough call because I'm just not into those sort of games. I guess I'd say that $20 would be the highest I'd be willing to go, but that's not necessarily a fair call in terms of what the game offers. I'm just not a connoisseur of the genre. That's right in line with the lowest sale price of $19.99, so if you see it dip below that and think you might like to give it a shot, that would be the time. Though I hear multiplayer isn't doing so hot, fair warning. Gameplay for Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 earns an 8 out of 10 based on my experiences with the campaign alone. I wasn't really interested in trying the multiplayer, especially since I knew that I wouldn't have the time or desire to get into it. That being said, I did do the tutorials about it, but I'm focusing more on the campaign for that score. I played it on normal and found myself just barely being able to keep my head above water, so as someone that doesn't use those kind of controls, mechanics, and level of micromanagement very often, I'd say that's a pretty good balance. Ultimately, it's got quite a bit of depth while still remaining an approachable entry point to the genre and perhaps even the series. Just don't expect it to be just like the others if you're already an established fan. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you Relic Entertainment for putting in the effort to make this game. I wish I could have given it more attention than I did, and I'm sure I glossed over some points. Real-time strategies are always big games for my little review series, and I'm just never really sure how to tackle them. I gotta work on that. Until then, remember that failure is not the worst case scenario to glow on with your bad selves and to stay awesome.